welcome to a new episode of Hallmark Heartbeats, a podcast all about Hallmark movies. I am your host, Camille, and today I am very blessed to be joined by writer of the newest Hallmark film coming out this week called Love Classified, Lynn Sternberger. Sorry, that was my dog.
I'm a fellow dog lover. Hello, everybody. It's great to be speaking with a massive fan of Hallmark movies.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to do this. So for our listeners team, would you like to introduce yourself, like your previous works and stuff?
Of course. So my name is Lynn Sternberger. I am primarily a television writer. And this is my first feature film that's been produced, my first foray into Hallmark. And I'm currently writing on the sitcom Home Economics. We're hoping to come back for a third season, but I actually am more of a drama or dramedy writer. And my credits include shows like Bluff City Law and The Bold Type, which I think is closest to my DNA. And that's also where I worked with Melora Hardin previously, who is starring in Love Classified.
Yep. I read an article that it was a couple of years of you writing Love Classified. What inspired you to write it?
I was very curious when I went in for my first meeting with Hallmark because a lot of reasons, foremost of which is I had not written a feature film before. They had read my television work and wanted to meet with me because of that. And also my writing is always very diverse and inclusive. And I wanted to make sure that I just wanted to gauge their sincerity, honestly. And I was very won over by the executive team in that meeting. And I pitched to them what I thought was my only idea that could be a feature, because I usually think in terms of TV. And they liked it. I expanded upon it in a document. This was March 2020. So we all know what happened next.
Pandemic.
It was actually my very last in-person meeting before shutdown.
Oh, wow.
And so kismet, that we got that meeting in, that we made it happen. And we just kind of buckled down, and it's a kind of a group decision when they're deciding what to develop over there. They have to convince their bosses and their bosses' bosses. And my concept was always going to be a departure from what was typical of Hallmark. So I was not surprised that was a long process, that they had to make sure that everybody was on board with that departure and intentional about it. And so it took a while before I got sent to script, and then I was delighted to be sent to script or sent to outline, and then we go through the whole outlining process, and then I get sent to script and I write the thing. And honestly, I think the first draft, second draft, I don't recall, the main draft, I turned into them, I want to say it was May 2021. I wrote it fairly quickly and made sure it was, funny in all the right places and heartwarming in as many places as I could, and then sent it off. And then I had a baby like immediately thereafter.
Aww.
So I was happily distracted for about 6 months from June to December. And then right before the Christmas holiday, when I was at my absolute busiest, getting back into work after my maternity leave, they were like, okay, well, we're going to make it. Can you do a few of the revisions that we discussed? And I was like, oh my gosh, terrible timing, but absolutely. I will. So it was a long process. It wasn't writing the whole time. It was just a lot of coordination, and then it was hurry up and wait, and then hurry up again.
I am curious, like you said, March, was that Wanya time or still ill time?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I I didn't hear it.
And was that 1 year time when you were approached by Hallmark?
No. The executives that I met with originally were, excuse me, sorry, I just want to make sure I get their last names correct. Kate Redinger and Lori Furneaux.
What?
And then Brett Takashita came on later. So they were all development executives. And Kate has stayed on the project the longest, and the others were in and out and had their hands in a bunch of projects, I think. But yeah, that was the team.
I'm so glad though that, like you said, this is a divergence from the usual Hallmark stuff. Can you just tell the listeners what is the movie about? Like what to expect? I mean, there's a lot of previews out, and there's a lot of articles about it. But what to expect? What do you want them to?
Yeah. Well, here's what I hope, and then I'll tell you the foundational kind of plot stuff. I hope that it doesn't disappoint traditional Hallmark viewers. I hope that it expands their expectations for what can exist on Hallmark, from Hallmark. And I hope they still watch it and feel the love that exists within the family at the center of it and within the romances. And also, I think, hopefully, the fact that there are a lot of maybe more pronounced obstacles in the way of the romances and the relationships, that's a little bit of the departure that I was talking about. It's maybe a tiny bit more challenging than some of the fare that's over there. So I hope that's a good thing. And I hope that it also draws new viewership to Hallmark overall and makes it possible in success for other movies like that to be made. And I'm not just talking about movies with queer themes. I'm talking about movies that also have like complicated family dynamics at the heart of them, because that is really the other
universal
thing.
It's universal. It's like whether you're
Absolutely.
gay, straight, whatever, like the family can be complicated.
There are real problems that they have to work through by the end of the film to be reunified. So that what leads me to the plot, which is basically Melora Hardin plays a romance novelist, Amelia Bloom, who has devised a technique to get home without basically telling her adult children that she's there with ulterior motives. And we meet both her and her two adult children, Taylor and Zach, and all three get romantic interests over the course of the movie. And they're all, in various ways that I don't want to spoil, connected through this app called Classify, which is kind of like a modern day personals ad app. It's based around a few different programs. Like some people are on Nextdoor, there's meetup groups, there's this one app called Lex that I was really interested in studying. And so it's kind of an everything, like a neighborhood unifying app where you can advertise businesses, where you can post personal ads. And so each one of them is in a way connected through the app.
That's cool. So it's like it's not just a romance app kind of thing. It's more of a like just community gathering together.
It is, and I hopefully set that up pretty clearly at the beginning of the movie. Taylor, the adult daughter, is a business owner. That was important to me, is to have female entrepreneurship as a sort of a running theme. Her mother is a very powerful woman in charge of her career, and as is Taylor. And so she is persuaded to dip her toes in the water in a professional way as well as a personal way on the app.
You said you worked with Melora before. Did you have any say on who was going to be cast in the movie? How exciting was it?
No power, but they consulted me, and I was thrilled with the names that they sent me. Melora was top of the list for Amelia, and I was delighted when she agreed. I was in the middle of that revision right before filming, and I immediately did a comedy pass, because I just knew that she would innately understand what to do in every comedic line. She would know how to play it. So I, as much as I could, tailored the part to her at that point. But the other actresses have been just as delightful. I think not just with the concept, but with the casting, Hallmark is going outside of its usual kind of stable of talent. And they are young. They come from a few different universes, cable as the CW, and they're immensely talented. And some of the supporting cast is just hysterical. And I am excited for viewers to get to know new faces and new voices, and just deeply funny, creative, romantic people.
Yeah, well, I know Max does have some Hallmark background, but I think Catherine and Laura at least have, and Arian. I think this will be the first Hallmark movie for the three of them. So that's gonna be exciting.
I believe so, yeah. And we still have a Hallmark favorite, Steve, I hope I'm saying his last name correctly, Basic. And he is great.
Oh yeah, we love him. Yeah. A couple of our friends and I, we have our DMs about Steve is very, yeah, we have
I
a
can
crush
say
on him.
I've seen the cut of the movie, and he's swoony. So I hope that his loyal followers tune in.
He's a very good-looking man.
And he holds his own with Melora Hardin. I mean, they play off each other beautifully.
Yeah.
They're obviously just both immensely experienced actors.
Okay. So I just want to talk briefly about this. We've seen the previous. You've also probably seen the hate. Let's be honest here, it's homophobia from some of the Hallmark fans. My question to you is, what would you like to say to those people in particular who are already full of hate and rage about this movie without even having seen it?
I'm not writing it for them, to be honest. I'm hoping that if it's a point of discussion at all in a household like that, like the uglier comments that are being left, the queer closeted kid that they have is the one who's hearing it and tuning in to see their experience represented on screen to some degree. It's not pornography, it's Hallmark. There's a kiss, and it's lovely. I think people aren't going to be, people will always be offended, but I think that it is the culmination of a beautiful build in a relationship. And I hope that queer and straight and, everywhere in between fans tune in and, watch it and then judge more than jumping to conclusions because of some imagined kind of impropriety, because truly it's sweet. I think I'm partial. What do I know? But yeah, I'm not writing it for those very loud haters, not at all. I don't think that's necessarily who Hallmark is intending to draw anyways. I would say they are looking for new audience. They need to keep bringing people to Hallmark and not just keep people watching Hallmark. And this is a strategy, I'm certain. And it's removed from politics. It's commercial to a degree. But also I think, they have been in the news for things that have happened within that network and made changes before I ever came on board, before I ever got hired. They decided to course correct. So this has been a long time coming, and I don't think it's going to slow down or stop. And so I guess to the haters, I also just want to say, na 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 boo boo.
For me, when I read the hate, I'm thinking to myself, like, I feel bad for your family and friends who may or may not know how horrible you think of them because of their hair. You know what I mean?
I
Especially when
think
they
that,
use the term family friendly. I'm sitting there going like, okay, so you think gay people are not family friendly? Do your friends and family who are gay know that you think they're dangerous or something? Like, what is going on here?
yeah, I do feel for, uh, I'll use queer as the umbrella term,
Yeah.
queer individuals who are living in communities that are more closed-minded, in families, even just specific families that see them as somehow unequal or wrong or against, the teachings of whoever, because I know so many Christian gay people, and I know so many Midwestern gay people, and they exist, whether they're welcome or not, they're there. And you're right, it must be extremely hurtful. Like, that's not my experience, because I live in a city that is very accepting. My friend group and my family are all very accepting, and I wish everybody had that. I truly do. I think it's misguided, but they think I'm misguided. So what do you do with that? What do you do with that except get on with your life?
Yeah. Um, it's frustrating. You said your friend. I on Facebook or what I was saying. I told her I was like, you have patience of a saint for being so kind to these people because me, I'm like ready to throw fists. you know, because
Yeah.
sometimes kindness is just too much.
I think the
But
funny part is that they often don't know how to respond to it. If somebody is coming at you with hatred, they don't know how to interpret kindness.
mm,
So that can be funny, creating that confusion. But do I think any of this is changing minds? The conversation on social media?
yeah.
Absolutely not. I do hope that the movie itself helps turn the dial, like just a tiny bit,
I hope
with
that for
whoever's
me,
watching.
I'm most excited because um, I know what it's like growing up as a Filipino woman, not seeing myself on TV, not seeing myself on social, on like media platforms. As an Asian person, our niche was martial arts. I was like, but what about drama? What
So
about
much
comedy? What
more
about romance? Yeah,
experience.
like yes. And so now that we have strayed away from that and become more inclusive with the media and stuff like that, I'm excited for the next generation that gonna grow up seeing themselves in a way that I didn't get to. And I'm pretty sure as a queer woman yourself, you also, did grow up with that representation that now the next generation is gonna see. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I 100% understand what you're saying. And it was funny. I had coffee with a young writer this morning, and we were talking about the fact that we were both queer women, and we were discussing, how hungry we were for representation growing up, and how we were so drawn to the media that where we could find it. And it's getting better. And part of the uh, just explosion of television period is that there's more space for all kind of experiences to be represented.
Mhm.
um, and I think maybe some of the misunderstanding around queer representation comes from the fact that there has been not enough of it. And so there's a lot of focus on shows like Queer as Folk or The L Word, which were very sexy cable series. And I think, like, the YA experience, and not just the coming out experience, the adulthood experience, the family building
Yeah.
experience, the just the trials and turmoil that anybody experiences through like a queer person's lens, as opposed to a only a just because none of us live in a fully queer universe. It's a nice thought, but we all live in the real world.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if we could see, just like you're talking about, it's not just martial arts, and also nobody's a monolith, right? Like you can't represent an entire culture with a single story or a single character. It's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Do you have any questions for me?
Do I have any questions for you? If you think of a follow-up film that you'd like set in the same universe or with some of the same characters, let me know, because I'm open to the idea.
I'm also a disabled woman. I'm disabled and I'm in a wheelchair. And one thing that I have been trying to advocate for and try to push for is a disabled storyline, like a love story with a disabled character.
I think that's a great idea.
Because there is none. There's hardly any. And one thing that I struggled with growing up is like, am I gonna would I be able to find love with somebody who's because I'm in a wheelchair and I'm like this and this and that. I'm like, would someone love me despite all that? And it's like, I wish that's one thing that I wish people could or media, I guess, could do is like show people with disability even normal life, of like we're not just disabled, we're also like educated, we fall in love, laugh, we cry, we hurt, you know what I mean? So it's not just disabled centered, like it's not a disabled centered movie, it's just us living a normal life and we're disabled. That makes sense.
I'm kind of a believer in the Our Stories movement, which basically means that most of the time, person who should be telling that story is somebody who feels that they are a member, who's included in that community. So I don't know if I'm the writer to execute that story with as much authenticity as it deserves. But I am interested in that kind of representation on Hallmark 100%. I think there's so many talented actors out there who are disabled or utilize a wheelchair who will 100% jump at the opportunity to act in a Hallmark film. So I hope that they pursue that.
Yeah.
And I will say that Max, the character in the series, in the film, he kind of gets like a little mini meet cute at some point, but we don't land him with anybody. So maybe there's a world in which there's a follow-up with Max and his love life.
That would be fun. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I am excited to see the movie. You guys go watch it. It comes out on Saturday on Hallmark Channel.
And I think a week later it'll be up on the streaming one, Hallmark Movies now.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate it, and thank you for interviewing me.
Bye.
Bye.